We thank you for joining us here on Connecticut Power and Politics. I'm Eric Lance-Crunner, and we begin this week with State Representative Maryam Khan. In her own words, this week she fought back tears as she described how she was attacked outside the XL Center in Hartford after Eid al-Adha services. And News 12 Connecticut's John Craven reports she wants an investigation of the police.
Khan wants the U.S. Justice Department to investigate how Hartford police responded to this attack. She says it was so violent she suffered a concussion and is still numb in her right shoulder.
I was going to give up, that I was no longer going to fight because I knew I was going to die.
State Representative Maryam Khan, arm still in a sling, fought back tears, describing last week's violent attack outside a Muslim prayer service at Hartford's XL Center.
What was the most difficult these last few days was seeing that the police report did not reflect everything or anything that happened to me.
The court is disturbed by the nature of the allegations here.
Police charged this man, 30-year-old Andre Desmond. Khan says Desmond walked up and made sexual advances, not just to her, but also her 15-year-old daughter. Then, Khan says he slapped her, put her in a chokehold, and ultimately slammed her to the ground.
We screamed inside and outside, and nobody came to our aid. No security, no police, nobody.
Khan isn't sure if she was targeted because she's Muslim. Hartford police have said they don't believe this is a hate crime.
So many systems failed that day. And I know that our systems are not perfect. This is why I ran for office. But they cannot be this broken.
The XL Center referred questions to Hartford police. A police spokesman said they're working on a response. John Craven, News 12, Connecticut.
John, thanks for talking to me now. With more on the attack on Representative Khan and how it was handled is Farhan Memon, chair of the Connecticut chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, the fact that this all happened goes without saying is just abhorrent. The question being asked, though, is how this could have happened. Representative Khan said so many systems actually failed that day, but they cannot be that broken. So to her point, this was such a large event. Where was security?
I think we've got to start asking ourselves how much police protection is enough police protection when it comes to large events such as this, especially religious events. First, we know that religious minorities are vulnerable, right? We've seen synagogues attacked, we've seen mosques attacked all around the country. So we know that there's a problem with minorities and when they worship, how vulnerable they are. So knowing that, it's important on authorities to be able to judge when you do have several thousand people coming together, is 2 or 3 police officers really enough? And clearly it isn't.
Were proper protocols in place, just based on what you know?
Pardon me, I didn't quite hear that.
Were proper protocols in place here in terms of security?
So my understanding is that the organizers consulted with the XL Center, and based on their standard protocols, they thought that only 2 police officers were necessary. And there might have been some security and some metal detectors. But the first problem is, I think, that the Hartford police has said that there was police presence during the prayers, and then the police left. And I think that's the first mistake that they've made. There needs to be protection that's provided before, during, and after services. So I think that when Ms. Khan and her family were exiting the center and were attacked, there was no one there to help them. They apparently yelled for someone to help them, and there was no one to be found.
The suspect, as we just said a few moments ago, has not been charged with a hate crime. Representative Khan has said that she couldn't speak to anybody's motives. Do you feel, is there any color that you'd like to add here on the suspect? Do you feel the suspect should be charged with a hate crime?
We definitely think the suspect should be charged with a bias crime. Connecticut changed its laws a couple of years ago to make it clearer and more easier for suspects to be charged with these types of crimes. Suspects don't have to act because of someone's race, gender, or ethnicity. They can be motivated by those factors. And so clearly here, one has to ask, given that Ms. Khan is a woman, given that she's identifiable as Muslim because she and her family wear a headscarf, did those things motivate this suspect? Certainly by suggesting that he wanted to kiss one of them and have intimate relationships with one of them. They certainly were being targeted by being women. And the fact that, she wears a headscarf, I think that, she's seen as more vulnerable than other women. So we can and should question here what the motivations of the suspect were. And insofar that he is someone who's had mental health issues, that certainly doesn't excuse him from being treated with bias, hate crime motivated type of charge.
I'd like to play you another clip from Representative Khan's press conference this week. Let's listen.
What was the most difficult these last few days was seeing that the police report did not reflect everything or anything that happened to me. This person came up to us and asked us for a kiss. That's all. There were no children. This was not an Eid day. I was not a Muslim. Nothing. That's what's in the report.
All right, so since that comment yesterday, the Hartford police chief has now released this statement, and here's the quote. We take the assault against Representative Khan very seriously, and the investigation was immediately assigned to both our intelligence division and to the major crimes division. Our detectives have supplemented the initial report with additional information and context, all of which is being shared with the state's attorney. We will review every aspect of our response. We always want to get better and do better, and we take seriously the importance of responding, not just as the law requires, but to ensure that we are working with our partners to support victims in every possible way. We are continuing to investigate this assault thoroughly, and we are working closely with the state's attorney. I just want to get your reaction to the chief's statement here. And also, is there a valid explanation for the initial lack of detail in the report?
Well, perhaps still good thing's a little too late, right? This would not be getting the attention that it's getting, but for the fact that it's a state legislative representative. And so one does have to ask, as Representative Khan has said, if she was not a member of the state legislature, would the chief be saying these things? I think Ms. Khan's own firsthand experience was that the police were non-attentive, weren't there, first of all, but then even when they came, didn't really handle the situation in a way that she would have expected in terms of treating her injuries, in terms of escorting her back to her car, and subsequent follow-up. So certainly these things are important, as the chief has suggested, and we're glad that he's now taking a better control of the situation. But the question is, should it have happened at all? And what are the protocols in place from the Hartford Police to make sure that all situations are treated like this, not just one that involves a high-profile individual?
Now, we're running out of time, but Lieutenant Governor Bysowitz also weighed in this week saying it took so long for someone to help her, and then to hear her story about how she was treated after, it's devastating and tremendously disturbing. And by the way, that includes what Representative Khan said about having to convince medics and EMTs that she was injured.
Right. I mean, it absolutely should be the case that we should have really a high standard of care when these types of crimes occur, and that we not only catch the individual and apprehend them, but then we also have an adequate set of protocols to care for the victim. And that seems not to have been the case over here, both from an emotional standpoint and also from a physical injury standpoint. I spoke to Representative Khan right after the event, later in the afternoon. She described it for me. That wasn't how it was described in the incident report. And so when they describe it as minor injuries, that certainly wasn't the case here.
Well, I'm sorry, we do have to leave it right there, but we thank you so much for your time. And keep it right here on Power and Politics. We have more coming up right after the break.